My name is Jewel Cadet, and I am a recovering people pleaser. This episode today of the Power Portal is all about breaking free from approval and really the obsession to try to manipulate people into liking us. And more on that in this episode. It's really important to recognize when you're a people pleaser and figure out the boundaries and different life changes to be made to release that because really and truly the prioritization should really be about pleasing ourselves. Now, you might be like, "Oh my gosh, that is so self-centered. How could you not care about making other people happy?" Now, this is the thing about happiness. I don't control the happiness of other people. I don't. And it's something that I had to learn really that took all my life because I thought that you made other people happy. I thought there were things that you could do to essentially make someone happy. Now, can your presence in someone's life make them happy? Yeah. Maybe you bring them joy. Absolutely. Does it matter to me to have loved ones of mine enjoy being around me, enjoy me being in their life? Absolutely. Do I love to do things for them to make them feel loved? Absolutely. But when we're talking about people pleasing, we're talking about centering others as we lose sight of ourselves. So now at 36, one of the best compliments that I can receive is that I'm selfish. I'm like, finally, I have centered me. And in order for me to love anyone, I have to be able to do that. So it's a very liberating, elevated framework that I don't expect for everyone to get, but those that get it, get it. And you're in this episode. So that means that you probably are interested in getting it if you don't got it already. And so I want us to talk through that. I want you to think through, are you a people pleaser? Are you a recovering people pleaser? Sometimes we focus on other people's lives to the point that we want to fix, we want to problem solve. I'm a fixer, I'm a problem solver. It's funny because I remember growing up, my brother was my best friend. And I would date these people and I would talk to my brother about it. And my brother would be like, back in the day, it was like, "Are you Bob the Builder? Like, why are you always obsessed with trying to fix people? Like, I don't get it." And I was like, "I ain't trying to fix nobody. We all have things going on in our lives." And because, and the reality is because I grew up in an environment where my mom didn't graduate high school, up until my brother graduated in 2008 and they kind of like did it together. My father, he wasn't around, so I don't know his educational background. And the reason why I'm naming this is that I saw that my parents and different family members didn't have a lot of things going for them according to what society would say. They weren't making the most money. They weren't the most educated. We didn't live in the best place. So to me, when people came into my life and they had different, quote unquote things against them, I was like, I'm not judging you. And so I would find myself attracting people and saying, well, I'm a good person because I'm lifting them up, I'm empowering them, I'm supporting them. And y'all, some of y'all's faves probably have a lot of this people pleasing stuff going on and probably have a lot of ego feeding going on. And so eventually I had to move into my activism from a place of not trying to fix and not trying to problem solve per se, but really truly getting to the heart of the matter and connecting with people from a different lens, right? From a more leveled place. Cuz listen, that savior complex can become real. More on that later in the episode. So, when we focus on other people's lives and when we fix and we fixate on problem solving, what we do is we avoid the work of doing self work. And so we feel so valuable by making other people feel good. We're like the people who won those awards in school. If you've ever gotten any accolade for being that helper, I want you to think about how many times did you take the time to help yourself? How many times did you lean into selfishness? How many times did you look into your life and say, I need to fix my own life? Okay, it's giving Ayanla fix my own life. And oftentimes we're not doing that. And so I remember people would always ask me, okay, you helping everybody else, who's helping you? And I never had an answer. You're healing everybody else, who's healing you? Didn't have an answer. And now, baby, I have reached the place of selfishness that is self love. And I know that it doesn't mean that I'm self centered in an evil way, but I know that it means that I prioritize self love. And that makes me such it makes me in a better elevated place mentally. It does. And not elevated above anyone else, right? Not this grandiose like vibe of being better, but just being like, I am the best version of me. When things happen to me, I think about, do I approve of this message? Do I approve of this behavior? Not other people, but do I approve of it? When I talk to other people, do you approve of it? Because that's the thing too. People pleasing goes both ways. So we tell ourselves we're valuable because we're helping other people. We tell ourselves we just really want to help and that makes us good people. But we don't get a chance to sit and figure out who we are when we're people pleasers. And what that did for me is that I ended up attracting abusers. I remember being in a relationship where the way that I wore my hair, the things that I ate, food wise and snack wise, the things that I wore, just everything, things I watched on TV, like all of that was dictated for me. And so I would ask this question that if you just started dating someone and you ask them, what type of person do you like? That question now makes me like it brings up a lot of emotions because I always ask that question in that particular dynamic. But I'm saying abusers because it's plural, right? But this particular dynamic that I'm thinking about and referencing and reflecting on for this point of this podcast episode, I thought about meeting this person. I had big, curly, colorful hair, super colorful outfit. I mean, walking rainbow down New York City, baby. And then she met me like that. And then she was like, "I don't really like that." And I was like, "No, what do you like? If you don't like this, what do you like?" And she was like, "Well, I like straight black hair. I don't like girls who drink. I don't like girls who smoke. I don't like girls who party. I don't." And so then I started to morph myself and shape shift myself into exactly who she wanted me to be because I was like, I want to love you. I want you to love me. So I'm going to become that girl. And I literally dishonored every single aspect of me so that I could please, so that I could literally be desperate for love. And as a result, completely lost sight of who I was. So when I came out of that relationship, I was like, what do I like to eat on Sunday? We always had macaroni and collard greens and it's like you can only have collard greens on Sunday. It was like it was a very rigid thing. And I was like, it's Sunday. What do I eat? It's nighttime. She like to sleep with the TV on. I don't. What do I do? I love colorful hair. Do I go back to colorful hair? What type of snacks do I like? I genuinely had to figure out who I was because I people pleased to the point where I did not know who I was. I looked in the mirror and I had no idea who I was. So People pleasing means that others don't truly know who you are. So it makes it so that we end up manipulating people around us into liking us. We shape shift into the person they want to be around, into the person they want to be friends with, into the person they want to date. We shape shift, and that is manipulation. So not only does people pleasing have that impact where you lose a sight of you, but you also don't give people the chance to get to know who you really are. So you really don't really create space for you to belong. And that needs to be its own episode about belonging. But how can you belong when you have fit and shape shift and morphed your way? Who are you? Who was I? Like that's real stuff. Who are you, the person listening? Who are you? And I ask myself, who was I then? But a shapeshifter. And in my own way, a desperate for love manipulator. Sometimes we think about manipulators being evil, mean, no, sometimes we're desperate for love and we end up manipulating people into liking us and we end up morphing ourselves into something and someone that we're not. Now, why do we people please? I believe that society celebrates overachievers, people who push themselves behind beyond our limits, people who are good with others. You got to be able to meet people where they are. So if I meet you where you are and you are a candy eating, cartoon watching, black hair loving, right? Sultry music listen. Like I'm going to be like, "All right, because society says that's how you connect. Society says like what they like. Push yourself to be that." So we end up not pleasing ourselves, right? Which I already said. And so what we get out of this people pleasing, what we get out of pushing ourselves beyond who we are is we get validation and we get praise. But that happens at the expense of ourselves. Now, what happens when we don't people please anymore? Like I said in the beginning of the episode, you get called selfish, you get called self centered, you get called a lot of things that society label as bad. But when you know your history of people pleasing, you say, well, thank goodness I'm this person today. Thank goodness I think about how it makes me feel first before how it makes you feel. Thank goodness I trust my intuition. Thank goodness I ask myself, who am I? What do I want to wear? What feels good to me? What hairstyle do I want to have? What aesthetic do I want to present? What ways do I want? I mean, baby, that's the self love. So when you don't people please anymore, you get called names, which is often why people don't want to abandon the people pleasing because it can feel good. But once again, it's at the expense of you. The number one thing for me and how I remain a recovered people pleaser is staying grounded in who I am. So that when people call me anything, I don't internalize it, right? Because I'm like, I know who I am. So this is how you're perceiving me. This is how you're reading it. That's your own stuff. Me, I know who I am. And I'm the only one that knows all the versions of me. I'm the only one who knows all the seasons that I've been in. I'm the only one that knows her. Now, once again, it doesn't mean that you don't care that no one likes you. We all want to be liked. We all want to belong. It is a human desire. There are some people who I genuinely do care if they like me or not. We live in a world of social media where strangers follow us, quote unquote, and like, quote unquote, our photos and comment. That's the world we live in right now. And I don't care about the strangers, but I do care about those loved ones. I do. But I also know that it can't be at the expense of me. Now, what has also happened on my recovered people pleasing journey is that I have been triggered by people pleasers. And so if you want to stop people pleasing. And if you are a recovered people pleaser, know that you may potentially be triggered by current people pleasers because they remind you of a lower vibration of you. It feels like a former addict, and then you recover, and now you see someone using that same substance that you were once addicted to, and you're like, can't watch, can't watch. Oh no, get it away, get it away, get it away. You're triggered, you're triggered. You're like, oh my goodness, I remember when I used to do that. I remember, I remember. So it's so important that we find the balance between not people pleasing, but also being in tune with others and being kind and being compassionate. That's beautiful. It's possible and can happen even if it doesn't get praised, even if you don't get celebrated for it, even if no one sees it, even if no one sees your kind of compassion, even if no one celebrates your kind, your way of being. Because, like I said, it's not something that society celebrates. So even if they don't recognize that the way that you're loving them is beautiful, it's okay. Because think about it, we are socialized to mistake people pleasing for love. We're socialized to think that, so that when you leave that behind, people are like, you don't love me. So be prepared that others won't feel loved by you all the time. Now that's hard, right? Because we want our loved ones to feel loved by us. But until they too do the work to abandon people pleasing, they will have times where they won't feel seen by you. They won't understand prioritization and they won't feel loved by you. It's very possible because once again we're socialized to think this way. My people pleasing not only had me dishonoring me, but others because I was out here enabling and condoning unhealthy behaviors like buying bottles of alcohol for people who were alcoholic, giving money at random times of the night to people who I know have different addictions. And I'm like, I'm not asking any questions. It's okay. And I knew that they were using it to fuel and fund their unhealthy behaviors. So now I'm condoning, now I'm enabling, and then I'm developing a savior complex because we eventually see the harm and now we want to fix you, right? So we enable it and we condone it. And then when it gets too bad, we're like, oh no, now I got to fix. This is too much. This is too much. And so when I think about the work that people pleasers have to do, I would recommend that the work is done internally. I no longer am on the we gotta all like stop people pleasing. I mean, I know this whole episode is about that because I do want people to break free from the approval of others. I do. I do want us to set boundaries and abandon people pleasing, right? I do. However, we cannot control what others do. So, my work now, shout out to my therapist, is to do that internal work, remain grounded on my healing journey so that I'm not triggered by people pleasers, that I do the work to continue practicing self forgiveness. And that was in a previous episode. Go check that out. Because there's parts of me that gets triggered because there's parts of me that is upset that I was that way. I'm like, how dare you had someone make you lose sight of you? How dare you made someone feel like they had the power for you to shapeshift? You know exactly who the fuck you are. Like, that's really what I tell myself. And I have to say, it's okay, Jewel. You really love that person. You really wanted to be loved by that person. So we don't want to lose that person. So then we morph and we shapeshift and we do all these things because that's what we feel like we have to do. It's rooted in fear. I don't want you to go. It's rooted in desperation. I want so badly for you to love me. It's rooted in all of these heartfelt things. And so I give myself grace and I give myself compassion and I give you grace and I give you compassion as a listener, whether you are a recovered people pleaser, whether you are a current people pleaser, we all deserve grace. We all deserve compassion. And above all, we all deserve to never lose sight of us. We all deserve to put that mirror up to us and focus on the things that we want to shift and develop and transform in ourselves. And so, my hope as you listen to this episode today is that you have done the work to activate a time in your life where you've people pleased. And I want you to think about what that would look like if you were to abandon that and what it could look like for you to truly center you and break free from the approval of others and tap into you being the one who approves of yourself. Tap into that power. Thank you for listening to the Power Portal.